2017 was an incredibly lucrative year for Amazon. In fact, according to reports, Amazon reportedly took in $5.6 billion in profits alone. I'm not talking about revenue, I'm talking about profits. After all was said and done, Amazon brought in $5.6 billion in profits in 2017. Now, you would think that Amazon would pay some portion of that in the form of taxes, federal income taxes to be exact. But recent filings indicate that Amazon paid $0 in taxes in 2017. Absurd. Now, keep in mind, this is federal income taxes, but Amazon has faced quite a bit of scrutiny for finding loopholes so they don't have to pay certain state taxes as well. But according to these recent reports, Amazon's global headquarters is not in Seattle, okay, but in the tiny landlocked nation of Luxembourg. The European Union has accused Luxembourg of giving illegal tax breaks to Amazon and has ordered the country to recover $295 million in back taxes.
Which, by the way, is actually tiny compared to what they should be paying overall.
Exactly, yeah, and I mean, when you look at the number of employees they have in Luxembourg versus the number of employees they have in Seattle, okay, so there's 40,000 employees in Seattle, about 1,500 employees in Luxembourg, but their headquarters are in Luxembourg, which is—
Everybody knows Amazon's headquarters is not in Luxembourg.
Right.
It's obviously a tax loophole. And this is for the last year, so it's a 35% rate. So in reality, they should be paying close to $2 billion in taxes, but instead they paid zero. So luckily in the new Trump tax bill, he said he was going to take away corporate loopholes. Oh right, oops, he didn't. He did not. They'll get to do the same exact trick next year.
Right. Now, Amazon did respond to some of the criticisms that they're getting for not paying anything in federal income taxes. They said our provision for income taxes in 2017 was lower than in 2016, primarily due to excess tax benefits from stock-based compensation and the provisional favorable effect of the 2017 Tax Act, partially offset by an increase in the proportion of foreign losses for which we may not realize a tax benefit and audit-related developments. I don't know what any of that means. I'm not going to lie to you guys, but maybe Cenk can explain it.
I do. It means we have really good lawyers and accountants. And look, so let me be clear on a couple of things. One, I like Amazon.
Me too, yeah.
I like tacos, right? So, okay, they got good shows. My wife shops there about 3 times a day. Okay, so, but just because I like Amazon doesn't mean they shouldn't pay their taxes. And just because I want them to pay their taxes doesn't mean we have to hate them. So, J.R. Jackson, our producer this morning, made an excellent point. He's like, I like Wesley Snipes. That doesn't mean he shouldn't pay his taxes.
Right.
Right? But just like Wesley Snipes, luckily, all the Amazon executives are now in jail. Oh, right, they're not, because they're a corporation, they can get away with anything. And like all the other corporations, of course, they have contributed to politicians, so they're free to go.
Right, and remember, when it comes to individuals, there aren't necessarily the same types of loopholes that corporations get to take advantage of. So yes, the problem is that corporations like Amazon are not paying their fair share in taxes. But the real issue is the way the tax code is written, and that tax code was only made worse by the Trump administration. So they are able to avoid paying these taxes because of the perks that politicians create for them.
Yeah, so give you a bunch of legitimate and illegitimate ways of avoiding a tax if you're a corporation. Yes, there are legitimate things like depreciating your assets, and there is real accounting reasons to do that. And then there are illegitimate things like hiding all your money in Luxembourg, Ireland, and the Netherlands. Those are the 3 main countries they do it with. And then they get enormous tax breaks from those countries, etc. Now we could easily stop that, but our politicians are bought by these guys. They're wholly owned by their corporate sponsors. So of course they're never gonna do that. And so look, that brings me to the second point I wanted to make overall, which is that I'm not mad at you, Amazon. Like I get it, you wanna maximize your profit. So you went and greased every politician you need to, just like every other company. And you said, hey, lower my taxes and create these giant loopholes where I could drive a Mack truck through. And they did it for you. Well, it's our fault for allowing that. That's insanity. If you don't get the money out of politics, every single corporation will buy nearly every single politician. And then when, like, So just getting mad about it afterwards doesn't do you any good. What you need to do is fight back.
Right.
And it's not fight back like, oh, I'm gonna smash an Amazon product. It's fight back to get money out of politics so they can't rig the rules on their behalf, because they have to maximize profit. So
yes.
Of course they will. They'd be crazy not to buy politicians. But we shouldn't have an auction. We should have a democracy.
I absolutely agree with you. And I want to add two more things that Americans should be concerned about when it comes to Amazon. And other corporations are guilty of doing the same thing. So this is, I don't want it to seem like we're only hyper-focused on Amazon. A lot of these corporations behave in a similar way because they're able to do so because of our corrupt politicians and our corrupt political system. Now, keep in mind that the argument is, if you give corporations like Amazon a tax cut, well, they're gonna create more jobs, which, by the way, in this case, yes, they are expanding, they are creating more jobs in the United States, but there are always twists to those stories. So here's the twist with Amazon. Right now, they're like, we're thinking about building a new facility. Where are we gonna build it, right? And so now every state is like, we'll give you bigger tax cuts. I'll give you bigger tax cuts. So there's all these like sweetheart deals being proposed because people are desperately trying to get Amazon to build those facilities in their state. And that is not the right way to go about things. I mean, look at how much they're getting away with not paying their fair share in federal taxes. And this would make the situation even worse when it comes to state and local taxes. The second thing I wanted to bring up is the issue of pay or compensation for their workers. The state of Ohio has Amazon facilities operating in their state, and they did an analysis of Amazon employees to see what percentage of them are on government programs, okay, like SNAP or food stamps. And they found that 1 in 10 Amazon workers in their state relies on some sort of government assistance or food stamps. So that is a huge issue. When you are a company that's bringing in $5.6 billion in profits, no one who works for you should have to rely on government aid. So we're subsidizing them in the form of these gigantic tax cuts, and we're also providing relief for their employees who they refuse to give a living wage to. So
again, that's why I talk about systemic change and money in politics, because that's the root cause. So thinking that a company will be patriotic and pay their taxes voluntarily is preposterous. Of course they're not gonna do that. What are they gonna do instead? They're gonna squeeze every nickel they can out of the government, whether it is in getting subsidies, et cetera, like the oil companies do, whether it's saying that the government is not allowed to negotiate with them on prices like the drug companies do, or taxes like Amazon. They're also gonna squeeze every dollar and nickel they can out of their employees, because every nickel you make is a nickel they don't make. So they're gonna squeeze and squeeze until you have to go on government handouts, not handouts, but assistance, right?
Yes.
And so when you go on government assistance, which the Republicans are looking to cut every day, right? Then we all have to pay the bill, but Amazon doesn't pay the bill. Now, if you're a amoral public corporation, we wrote the laws saying you must do this. So why don't we now change and fix the laws saying, no, don't do that? These corporations were not created by a deity. They were created by us. We wrote the laws. But they're now out of control, runaway robots. And now the politicians say, oh, there's nothing we could do. Corporations are people, my friend. No, they're not. In fact, they squeeze every dollar they can out of every person because that's what we told them to do. Wolf-pack.com, you gotta get the money out. If you don't get the money out, we're screwed on every one of these issues. And no, Amazon is not unique in this case, but it is a particularly egregious example, $5.6 billion, and they paid nothing in taxes. You paid more in taxes than a company that made a profit of $5.6 billion. Gee, I wonder if the corporations have rigged the rules in their favor. What you just watched was one of the videos that we do today, but we actually do a whole 2-hour show every single day. It's a podcast. You can watch it in video or listen to it as audio. You can download it, you can stream it, and you get it completely ad-free if you could become a member of the Young Turks. tytnetwork.com/join.